Hello everyone, welcome to our very first character review video. I was inspired to do this after seeing videos of PowerPoint presentations by Gale Shades, see the link in the description, and I thought I'd be able to bring in a new perspective into analyzing the performance of Fire Emblem characters based on my own experiences with the series. Another reason why I'd rather do character reviews rather than tier lists is because I find them to be much more useful and informative, like who should you use based on a certain context. Tier lists don't really tell you that. And the first unit that I want to start off with is Boyd in Radiant Dawn, who I think is an underrated unit by most, at least in this game. And why do I think he's underrated? Just take a look at these screen caps. Usually people just call Boyd bad because he's slow, and in fact, two certain very well-known people in the Fire Emblem community even rated Boyd a 2 out of 5 and a 3 out of 5 respectively. One comment from 2017 even mentions me by name, saying that Boyd is only good if you play with transfers and rig levels. I'm going to show that this person is in fact completely false. Boyd is fantastic even with 0% growths, at least if you use transfers. Starting assumptions, so that we're all on the same page. We'll be playing on hard mode. We'll be assuming efficiency. By efficiency, I just mean a somewhat fast pace while keeping the strategies as reliable as possible. The rule of thumb is the faster and more reliable a strategy is, the better, but we won't be going beyond that. There's no need to use math or expected turn count to measure reliability or turns. Since Fire Emblem is not a multiplayer game where money is involved, there's absolutely no need for that. We're just trying to have fun. Efficient resource distribution will be assumed. So for example, we're not going to give Mia the speed wings, but we are going to give units who benefit the most from stat boosters to help make clears as quick and as reliable as possible. So for example, Jill is a great candidate for the Seraph Robe, Energy Drop, Draco Shield, and whatnot. Boyd, as we'll see, is going to be a great candidate for the Speed Wings, Forged Hand Axes, etc. Now let's take a look at his stats. He's recruited immediately at the start of Part 3. He has an admittedly low speed base of 18, which prevents him from doubling anyone in his starting chapter, even with transfers. So with transfers, he can get 2 points in each of these stats, and with transfers, he'll have 20 speed, but even that isn't going to be enough to double enemies in his starting chapter. His growths, on the other hand, are solid. His speed growth is actually okay. It's 10% better than Ike's speed growth of 35. He has an excellent fire affinity, allowing him to get even higher might with his support partners. Now, I was talking about his speed earlier. Let's take a look at his speed benchmarks that he needs to hit to be able to double enemy units. For the most part, in 3-Prologue, the enemy stats range from 17 to 20. Boyd's own attack speed is 18. It can go up to 20 with transfers. The Swordmasters in this chapter do have around 23 AS, but for the most part, Boyd doesn't have to worry about that, but even then, he still can't really double anyone in this map. 3-2 is where Boyd really starts to shine. With his speed wing or transfers, he's able to get enough speed to double most enemy units after just a few levels, since most enemies have speed ranging from 16 to 18. There's a few halberdiers in this map that do have speed higher than 18, then he wouldn't be able to double them, but that's okay. He doesn't have to engage with them for the most part. But what is really special about 3-2 is that he finally has access to Resolve, which enables him to kill pretty much anything once he gets into Resolve range. But how do you take full advantage of that? What makes Boyd really stand out is his third tier promotion. Boyd needs to promote to take full advantage of Resolve, a skill that increases his skill and speed by 50% when he's under half HP. His class's Master skill only takes up 25 capacity, and Shove takes up 5 capacity. That leaves him with 30 capacity to play with, and he can have two 15 capacity skills. There are only a few relevant 15 capacity skills. These are Resolve, Paragon, Pass, Celerity, Adept, and Wrath. The best combo, if you don't need to use the utility advantage of Paragon or Celerity or Pass, is Resolve plus Adept. Resolve alone would make Boyd a monster, would make pretty much most units into nearly invincible killing machines. But Adept will both maximize his offensive potential and his defensive potential. to see it resolve and Adept in action, let's check out this clip from my 0% hard mode LTC run with transfers. I think 0% growths are extremely effective at illustrating my point, because all of you guys will be playing with growths, so you'll have a better Boyd than I did at the same point, even if you don't use transfers. Keep in mind that the 0% Boyd here hasn't used any stat boosters whatsoever. I don't need to show you guys enemy stats after this point, because it really doesn't matter as much. Boyd is going to kill anyone he faces after promotion with forged hand axes. Figuring out the math here though is still important. The chance for Boyd to activate Colossus or critical via forged hand axes or Adept is a total of 88%, at 0% growth that is, so it's going to be even higher in a growth playthrough. Boyd's viability here is great thanks to the fact that he has 106 avoid in this turn, and via Resolve and Best Biorhythm, it's hard for him to even get hit. You can see him clearing out everyone here and ending the chapter 3-8 in 3 turns. Here is Boyd doing much the same thing in 3-10. In this case, R as Shade to make enemies go for Boyd instead, so Boyd is once again killing pretty much everything. I'm not showing the full video here because everyone here will be dead at the end of enemy phase anyway, but what's particularly great about using Boyd in this way is that he's going to snowball. The more levels you give him early on will enable him to increase his stats even more so that he can kill even more enemy units, and that will keep on going forever. And here's 0% Boyd doing exactly the same thing in 4-P. His bases with transfers are good enough to keep him useful in 0% growth up until 4-3, at which point he does fall off a little bit in 0% growths with transfers. But can you imagine how good he'd be with growths? With or without transfers, it doesn't even matter as much as long as you know how to use him. He was number 1 in kills in both my normal growths low turn count playthrough in 135 turns and my 0% LTC playthrough in 149 turns. So, seeing how good 3rd tier Boyd is, how should we get him there? You could always just give him a Master Crown at level 10, but I'd recommend waiting a little bit more since he has a relatively flexible deadline of 3-8 to get there. I personally like to use bonus experience to promote him when I play casually. That way you can level him up naturally and just use bonus experience to get his speed as high as possible. He has a good speed cap of 27, and with smart use of bonus experience he can get there after quickly capping HP, strength, and maybe defense. The bonus experience system in Radiant Dawn is guaranteed to increase exactly 3 stats per level. You could have well above average speed if you use the experience system to your advantage, as you should be. One more thing I need to address before concluding this video is Boyd's competition. He's not the only unit in the game who can use Resolve and Adept together. The archers can also do that. They also have a mastery skill that's only 25 capacity, but archers do not take good advantage of Resolve and Adept since they don't have access to one range without crossbows, so they're an immediate no. Nolan is an option for part 4, but in part 3 you're much better off giving Resolve to the Grail mercenaries who can take more advantage of it than the Dawn Brigade. Out of the units who already come with Adept or Resolve, Soren comes with Adept, so Adept costs 0 capacity for him, but he gets Flare upon promotion, which is going to heal him out of Resolve range, so that's not a good idea. Zihark isn't bad, but you have to keep Adept on him the whole time, and he doesn't have access to Forge hand axes like Boyd does. Taraneo, on the other hand, isn't a serious contender. So that really just leaves Boyd as your best contender by far for both as a Resolve and Adept at the same time. And with that, I'm now ready to rate Boyd. With transfers, I'd give him an 8.5 out of 10, just below the 2 gods of the game, Jill and Har. And without transfers, I'd give him a 7.5, because he'd need a stat booster or 2 and maybe a bit more babying just to maintain the same level of performance. If you like this video, let me know in the comments who you'd like me to do character ratings of. My idea was to do Jill versus Har and Radiant Dawn, but that could probably start a shitstorm. But I don't mind doing character ratings from other games in the series either, and I hope to see you next time.